The Spyderco Endura 4 with the Emerson Wave option. Retail, well, not retail, the actual street price on this is around 65 to 69. I paid 69 on Amazon. And the reason why this costs more than the typical Endura 4 without the Wave is because of the Wave option. And right here, if you look, so it says Emerson patent number blah blah blah. They are charging extra to pay a royalty to this Emerson guy or company for this little hook right here. Is it worth it? I think so, honestly. Not so much because of the official aspect of it, but because this is the design of this is a lot better than trying to ghetto wave your Spyderco. A lot of them, your typical Spyderco has a blade upper profile like this, just kind of an angle. And a lot of guys will either put zip ties on there, which they call the ghetto wave, and then there's kind of hooks on your pocket, or they will actually take a Dremel and cut a notch out into the loop or just into the blade part right up here to make the same effect. This is already done for you. You don't have to cut on anything. You don't have to throw any, zip ties on it, make it look all crappy. It's just as is, pretty good. Made the VG10 steel that they use for the blade. Pretty good steel. It's supposed to be more rust resistant and a little bit better than AUS 8 overall, which is a cheaper steel, like Cold Steel, and some of the Spydercos use that. Excuse me. AUS 8 is not a bad steel, but VG10 is nicer, so that adds to the cost also. Otherwise, pretty well built. I like the texture of the handle. It's grippy without being overdone. It does have this nice little flat spot underneath the clip here, so it doesn't shred your pockets with this texture here. The clip is decent. I mean, it's not super strong, but it's definitely not wimpy. I've heard some guys say that they broke them. I don't know how. They did put some extra thought into, say, the lockback part right here. This is not a very hard lockback to actuate. It's a little stiffer than some, like, say a cheap lockbacks. But it does have this nice little notch taken out right here. And there's some guy name they attribute that to. I forgot right offhand. But they have this little notch in here. The reason why is because when you have this in your hand and you're cutting things, unless this is a really stiff type of mechanism like Cold Steel uses really stiff locks, there's a possibility you could be gripping this too tight and then your blade disengages, and if that happens, so that could be a problem. But they have this notch here, so that kind of makes it a lot harder. You can just grip this as hard as you can, and you can't disengage it. You have to make a deliberate effort to disengage it. The mechanism on here for opening, I don't know. I used to not like the thumb hole, the spider hole as they call it. I used to not like it, but really for a lockback, this does swing open pretty easy. It opens like a liner lock. Very smooth. I don't know what kind of bushings they use inside of here. I think bronze or something. I can't really see them. And it does seem to have like a liner inside there, a steel liner. But it opens very smoothly, very easily, and so I just have to put a little bit of wrist into it, because if I just use my thumb, it only goes half. But if I put a little wrist into it, which obviously I didn't do there, but just a little wrist, and it swings open pretty good on its own. And that's only if you don't use the wave feature. Wave feature opens this really, really easy. Makes it a breeze. This is easier for me to use just a little bit than the AK. You have to put a deliberate effort into opening this because of the angle you have to get it. You have to put it, say it's coming out of your pocket like this, you have to tilt it this way to really snag it on the pocket. This one, because this hook is so much wider and deeper, it grabs a hold of the material a lot more easily. And so you could just about pull this straight up. I mean, maybe a little slight angle, and it'll open a lot easier. Plus the fact you don't have to overcome as much spring strength with this. The size of the handle is just, I mean, it's typical of most Spydercos. The size, shape, and everything like that. It's very, very nice. I mean, it's got this nice little thumb ramp here, so you can get in on small detail tasks or stuff like that, or thrusting if you're using it for defense. Got some pretty good jumping up on here. It's grippy without being, painful or anything. Got some finger grooves in here that fits my average size hands really nicely. This is a 4-inch blade, which is maximum legal length in some places. Not a problem here in Arizona, of course. And it is very light. This is the, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember this. FNG, I think is the material that they use for this, the scales. It's some kind of a polymer of some sort. I want to call it the same as grippy. It's comparable. Not bad at all. Again, it's something like you would use in the frame of a firearm, you know, like a polymer firearm, like Glock, Ruger, whatever, Smith & Wesson. Excuse me. The clip can be put in 4 different positions, so this is just kind of trying to satisfy everybody, I guess. You can put it tip up, tip down, left, right. So really nice. Of course, obviously, if you put it tip down, this is worthless. Don't know why they bothered with it on this, but whatever, it's there in case you want it. And the sharpness of the blade, it's pretty darn sharp out of the box, but not as sharp as, say, this is what I bought at the same time because it was comparable size and everything. Price was almost the same. This arm hair shaven sharp right out of the box. This, not so much. So it's kind of a minus, but it will take an edge easily. The VG10 is not hard to sharpen, and it does hold an edge very well. The width of this blade, well, not so much the width, well, yeah, the width, not the thickness, is pretty nice. It's pretty comparable to, say, this is my old Gerber Evo. This is a 3 3/4 inch blade, and this is a 4 inch. So the blade length is pretty similar, and then the profile there is really close because of this cutout. A lot of this because of the Emerson Wave. They cut out from here to here, and so it makes it kind of almost a spear point, kind of like that. But it really works well for just general cutting tasks and things like that without being so skinny that it's like a stiletto, which would make it illegal in some places too. I like the fact that I can open and close this one-handed very easily. This was a factor for me because when I screwed up my thumb by cutting the end of it off with the Cold Steel Spada G10 XL blah 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 blah, I screwed up my nerves into my thumb here. I can't use a thumb stud where crap like this right here. I can't do it because for one I can't feel it, and two it kind of hurts like around the side of it. I have to either use a flipper like that, or I have to use the spider hole right here. I have to actually stick my thumbnail into it and flick it open. Or, you know, like some of them, like the Cold Steel, I get that thumb stud thing. I hook it on the edge of my pants and open it that way. So, but it opens very easily, very practical. I like the fact, again, like I said, you can open and close it single-handed. And the lock back on there, this is different than a lot of them. Say like Cold Steel, you depress the lock on this one, and it's so hard to disengage. But when you do, it doesn't drop. I mean, you have to kind of give it some effort and then make sure your fingers are in the way. You want to hold it this way, not this way. You're going to start lopping your fingers off. This one, you just push it in, and it goes limp. So it's a lot easier to close. And then you got this flat spot right here on the back of it, where before the actual edge starts. So even if you got a regular grip on here, you just drop it, and it lays against your finger there. No problem, no risk of cutting. So it makes it real easy to open, close, one hand. Real nice. So overall, very practical as far as everyday carry. Defensively, you got a pretty decent length of blade, very sharp, and the Emerson makes it a breeze to open in a hurry. So it's a pretty good defensive weapon too. Maybe not as good as some others, like, you know, something a little larger, beefier, and so on. But I wouldn't doubt this would be capable in the right hands, of course. So, as far as how it compares to some of their other blades, say the Police model, or the Matriarch, or maybe even like their lower end, the Bird knives, like the Bird Caracara 2, those are geared more specifically towards defensive use. However, all of those lack the Emerson Wave feature. They do make a Matriarch with the Emerson Wave on there, but the rest of them, they don't. And any of those ones without that Wave feature, I would say it would be a lesser option, because tip up or tip down, you still have to manually flick it open. That's just that much more thought and effort and time you have to put in opening that in an emergency. And by emergency, I mean like mugger in an alley or whatever kind of thing. Whereas this, you just pull it out and it deploys itself. No thought or effort involved. It just, there it is. It's open. So I would say this is by far a better option for defense than those. Only exception again would be the Matriarch, but then you're trading off the everyday practicality of a plain edge and a straight, simple blade, as opposed to the matriarch, which is fully serrated and it has this nasty, nasty hook, which is great for cutting and ripping flesh and material and stuff like that, but not really good for just everyday tasks so much. So I'd say this is a really nice compromise overall. How does it compare to the AK47 that I bought at the same time? Honestly, in some ways, I kind of regret getting the AK. It's thicker, if you look at that, or wider, I should say. The thickness, it is thicker just a little. Not a whole lot, but just a little. This is just a little more difficult to deploy because, again, you have to put a deliberate angle on it. This you don't. This is lighter. This is a bit heavier. When you carry them, you don't notice it so much, but when you're handling them, this doesn't stick up out of the pocket as much as this. See where this part here, you got an extra ½ inch of crap sticking up. And this one I can open with my thumb very easily. This one, I can do it, but you have to really put some effort into it. Closing it one-handed, I can do it, but and it took some time to get the lock broke in. This one, effortless. See, I say effortless, and it takes me effort to do it. But just there, see? Gravity. So, overall, great knife. I wish that I had discovered this a long time ago. I could have saved myself a lot of time and money and frustration by just getting this. And I'm not a hardcore Spyderco fan. This is actually my first Spyderco ever. I've seen them all through the years, and they just never appealed to me. But this one, I'm glad I got it, and I wish that I got it sooner. So, very, 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 very highly recommend this. I think this is probably going to be my absolute favorite EDC blade now. Used to be, again, the old Gerber Evo, but I think this boy here is replacing him. So, bye-bye Evo. Hello, Spyderco. So there you go. Spyderco Endura 4 with Emerson. For what it's worth, it's my 2 cents on that. Thanks for watching.